And we're live. And we're so glad to have you all. And we're excited to talk some college football because it's Wednesday, hump day. Let's talk some college football. Let's talk some offensive line. Just talking about college football because it's heating up real quick. So, hi, everybody. It's me, Sonia at Mom23RN. Pretty soon I'll figure out what I'm doing over on the Blue Sky area and I'll let y'all know. And then I have my friend Kate. We all know and love Kate, Cleveland Kate. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm also heading over into the Blue Sky realm, and the threads on Instagram are very interesting. Lots of people sending messages to people, not realizing all the people can read the messages they're sending to people.
Is that you?
It is not me, but I am reading the tea.
Yes. So y'all be careful out there. Be safe.
So if you're watching us on the X or the Facebook or wherever you're watching us at, and you're not on the YouTube, please feel free to come on over to our YouTube channel because the chat room is live and full of life here on the YouTube, and we can interact. Hi, Kristen.
Hey, Kristen.
So you can join us, you can chat with us, you can ask us questions, you can tell us we're wrong, right, indifferent, whatever it is you have to say, and we can interact with you over here on the YouTube.
We love to do that. We love to hear your opinions because it's always fun. It's better that way. Exactly, Kristen. All the coolest people are in the chat. Michelle, unfortunately, had to do grown-up responsible stuff tonight and had to work. So she had to leave us to do the fun stuff. So that's okay. We love you, Michelle. Hopefully you'll get everything together and we'll see you next week. Yeah. So,
I personally think she just needed a week off because Miami lost this week. Coincidence?
I think not.
That was a rough game. There were some rough games this last weekend, and the official rankings are out. I think they came out last week. You and I think were both, and Michelle, were reeling from the elections that happened on Tuesday.
Yes.
And maybe a little bit, there were some things that were very important that happened on Tuesday, including the NFL trade deadline. And there was a lot of things going on there. And so we took our turf, decided to take off that Tuesday evening and not do our NFL show so people could watch election results and participate in that process. And then I think on Wednesday, the three of us were just like, I need another day to absorb what just happened.
Exactly.
And so we took Wednesday off, but the first official, we've been looking at rankings all year, but the first official BCS, these are the ones that matter, came out last week and they've been updated this week. And so we'll talk a little bit about those as well as some of the games we saw last week. And then we've been trying to do some conferences each week, and we're doing the Carolina. I always want to say Coastal Carolina.
Right? No, it's Coastal Athletic Association.
That's it.
That has been kicking my butt all week because I keep wanting to say Conference Athletic Association, which is just a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. So Coastal Athletic Association. So we're going to get into that. And also we are going to talk about a position that we really don't talk about a lot, but is very much so needed. And those are the big boys up front, the O-line. I love them, love those big guys. So going to have a nice fun night. Get in the chat. Kristen's all in it. We love her. Join her. All right. So let's get going. Some rankings came out.
No surprises.
Really?
Oregon at 1. There were some surprises. Ohio State at 2. I don't know that I like my Buckeyes at 2. And some of that I think is we talk about the Big Ten quite a bit, you and I, and on the show.
Yeah.
The Big Ten will sort itself out. Ohio State plays Indiana this week. Indiana's undefeated.
That's going to be
Indiana didn't get a whole lot of love in the poll from my perspective. At the same time, they haven't played that many really good schools. They've got Ohio State on their schedule. And I think the week or two after that, they have Oregon. So the Big Ten will sort itself out. By the time we get to the end of the season, if these undefeated teams are still undefeated, well, actually they can't be, right? If Oregon plays Indiana, one of them is going to lose. They could still end up being the two teams in the Big Ten championship because they could still have with one loss the best record.
How crazy would that be? Like literally just think about that. How crazy would a Big Ten championship with Oregon and Indiana?
Oregon, who wasn't even in the Big Ten last year, and Indiana, who has never won 10 games in a single season in school history. I kind of think it would be fun.
I think it would be fun too. Right?
Just because it's nice to mix it up a little bit. I know they run into this stuff in the SEC a lot. You'll see the SEC championship game will be two teams that have already played each other during the year, right? Mm-hmm. And so we don't get a lot of that in the Big Ten because we had those two weird, they were trying to split us in half for a while. It was very weird. The legends and the what, I have a mental block on that whole, whatever they were trying to do. Yes. Yeah. And you and I got our big game coming up here in a couple weeks, but I mean, I think the Big Ten will sort itself out. I don't know that Ohio State deserves to be number 2. I hope they're not drinking that Kool-Aid, although they have played better the last couple weeks. Texas at 3, Penn State at 4. And those three, the 2, 3, and 4 teams are all 8-1. Indiana's sitting at 10-0. They've like played more games than anybody else. BYU's 9-0.
Right.
And then you've
BYU, I was not expecting BYU. My bad.
I wasn't either. They have very much surprised me. We'll talk about their last weekend game here in a second. Then you've got Tennessee, Notre Dame, Miami, all with one loss, 8-1 and 9-1. Miami dropped 5 spots from the prior week by losing this week, but they're still number 9. Alabama at 10, Ole Miss at 11, Georgia at 12. If the playoffs started tomorrow, then Boise State isn't in. They're sitting at 13. They're going to be the bubble team. They need to handle their business and win some games. You've got Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia with 2 losses each ahead of like a Boise State with 1 loss, SMU, Washington State. You've got some very good 1-loss teams. Now, the SEC is a lot like the Big Ten, right? They're going to play each other. They've still got some games coming up. It's going to sort itself out. The ACC where Miami plays, they've still got some conference games coming up. So they will sort themselves out. What I love about the new playoff system is not only is it those 12 teams, but it's not Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State. Let's say it ends tomorrow. They're the top 4. That's not who's going to get a bye. They're going to go right now to the Big Ten championship and go, okay, 3 of the top 4 are Big Ten teams. Who's the champ? They get a bye. And then work their way through. You could have a number 11 team get a bye because they're the next conference. They're one of the top 4 conference champions. And I love that. All you got to do is get into the top 12. And as Michelle would say to us here, just win, baby. Just win. And you're good. So,
like Montana State. Hi, Dana. Montana State's 10-0.
They are.
They're playing some good.
Boise State's got a Heisman candidate, Ashton Jeanty, who we talked about on our very first podcast this season. Running back out of Boise State is still a beast, is still putting up great numbers, and has the size that I think would make him very versatile in the NFL. And as long as he keeps running and they keep winning, I think they're going to make their way into the top 12 because the Big Ten and the SEC are going to sort themselves out. I feel like I say that all the time. I can't say it enough. They will sort themselves out as we're getting into the meat of the season. But aside from the fact that I don't know that my Buckeyes are the number 2 team in the country, I wasn't really surprised with anything else that was going on.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah, I think everything made sense. Of course, I mean, they're going to keep Georgia and Alabama in there. Georgia's going to have to do a lot.
Georgia lost to Ole Miss bad, 28-10.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia Tech beat Miami, beat the U 28-23. At least it was close. Ole Miss just whooped on Georgia. Like, I don't know how with 2 losses they're still sitting there, but they're the SEC. They're going to play somebody, and the Bulldogs will figure it out. You know, Alabama stomped on LSU 42-13. That was pretty brutal. I mean, those were the games that I was keeping an eye on this weekend because they're going to have bigger effects down the road. Penn State is number 4 for a reason. 35-6 over Washington. Like they're making a case to be in the Big Ten championship game. So
totally.
We had some really interesting games this week. And we have some very good ones coming up next week.
And shout out Colorado Buffalo, number 17. But still, I mean, I think that I like what they're doing. I like what's going on over there. Sure, Sanders, Travis Hunter, of course, are running, just doing things. And I think it's actually kind of nice to see, because people got on Colorado last year because Coach Prime was Coach Prime and doing Coach Prime things. But now I like how he's really got them focused and doing their thing. So shout out Buffs.
Does he stay, or is he going to the NFL next year? Like he's there with his kid, right? His kid's going to be done. Does he stay? Is he a fair weather head coach?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Where would he go? I mean, yeah.
There's lots of places that he could go. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, right? He could go to Dallas if he and Jerry could get along. He could go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville needs a dose of personality. So does Carolina. There are some teams, the Giants, I feel he can keep starting Daniel Jones all he wants, but I feel like his job at some point is going to be, there'll be openings. I'd like to see him stay another year. I'd like to see him. He's actually doing a very nice job for all the prime and the flash and the talking. He's actually doing a very nice job with that program. Travis Hunter is another Heisman candidate. He's my pick for the Heisman right now. Oh, I don't know, Kristen. Them Bears love them. They love their flus. I don't know if we'll see how the new offensive coordinator works in Chicago and if that was the right call on whether or not Matt's going to keep his job there. Travis Hunter is just amazing, playing both sides of the ball, racking up the stats on both sides. He's my favorite non-quarterback pick for the Heisman. We'll see if they end up going a different direction, but it would be interesting if he goes to the NFL and gets drafted top 3, top 5, where he goes. And if Prime goes to somewhere that has a high draft pick and wants to get him, like dominoes, right? It could be a whole thing.
Right.
I would just love it if he stayed one more year at Colorado, because I think he's building something really decent there. They've got a nice team. They've been able to recruit better talent. But it's always about money and that next thing. So I don't know.
Right. It's hard to say. So So those are the rankings. Good things coming. It'll be fun to watch them next week. See what happens, because there's some decent games I think next week. Correct? Anyways,
yes.
Either way, yes.
Yeah, this week upcoming. I think some of the Ohio State's got Northwestern, Alabama's got Mercer, Penn State has Purdue. Like there's a bunch of SMU has Boston College, Notre Dame has Virginia. Like there's a bunch of one-ranked versus a non-ranked teams going on this week. But there is Tennessee versus Georgia, number 6 versus number 11. And Georgia's already sitting with 2 losses. If they lose to Tennessee, I don't know if they can come back from that. I don't know that anyone on the committee can justify a 3-loss team being in the top 12.
No way.
So it'll sort itself out, right?
It shall. We talk about it all the time. All right. So let's into what we want to talk about. Do we want to talk about O-line, or do we want to talk about the Coastal Athletic Conference? The Coastal Athletic Association.
Let's do O-line a little bit first. They announced a semifinalists for the 2024. I'm thinking ahead of myself. Joe Moore Award. So this is what I love about this award is it's not for an individual person. It's for a group. And we talk about the O-line on here a lot on our Tuesday show, on our NFL show, and on this one, how they are a unit, how important it is for them to have consistency, to play together, to get those 5 guys working as a team. And the Joe Moore Award is for an offensive line. So the top, the semifinalists this year are, and I think all but 2 are ranked: Alabama, Army, Indiana, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Oregon, Tennessee, Texas, Tulane, and Iowa. I'm sorry, only one. Iowa is not ranked, but I love that they recognize that Iowa's problem is on defense. It is not on offense. It is not their offensive line. It is their defense. And I like that it's an independent kind of award. They look at the body of the work of what that O-line does and recognize that Iowa may not be good enough to be ranked, but that offensive line is spectacular.
Yep. I love that. That is fun. And, a couple of, even though they're not on these teams, but, we go to the Senior Bowl every year and hopefully we'll be able to go again this year. But 2 O-linemen have already accepted their invites to the Senior Bowl. So O-linemen are very much so needed and just a wonderful group of guys. And I love them a lot. Even my faulty Michigan O-line. They'll get there one day. I promise.
Girl, they got problems. I can't even.
Right.
So do you know who has accepted their invites already?
First
of all, it's the Reese's Senior Bowl. And frankly, Reese's is the best candy ever. It's not a candy bar, it's a candy. It is the best candy. It is the perfect blend. If you get the Easter egg shape of chocolate to peanut butter, I should do commercials for them. So I love that they sponsor the Senior Bowl.
I am not a peanut butter fan. So yes, I know. Me and peanut butter just don't get along. Sorry, guys. But Reese's Peanut Butter Senior Bowl, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Senior Bowl. Gary Zabel is one of the guys who on the offensive line from North Dakota State University. He accepted an invite to the Reese's Senior Bowl, so that is exciting. And then hang on, I'm going to tell you the other one too. He is another one from William and Mary. William and Mary.
Charles Grant.
Yes, Charles Grant from William and Mary. And that's the tribe, William and Mary tribe. I did not realize that was their name.
Yeah, and I loved it when I saw that. He was the very first. They've sent out their invitations for all the positions to everybody. And the very first one to say, yes, I'm coming. Charles Grant from William and Mary, which is in the Costal Athletic Association.
Yes, very good, very good.
Thought, let's talk about the teams in the CAA tonight. There are a lot of them. There are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 teams in the CAA.
16 teams. One of them, my alma mater, Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, and also one other HBCU, North Carolina A&T. They also, a while back, they were in the MEAC together. And so there's that. So nice to kind of see them in the Coastal Athletic Association. But yeah, my Hampton Pirates are 2-4 in the Coastal Athletic Association. So there's that. Again, I have to say all 3 letters so that I can get that.
Yep. I do the same thing. Some of the names I think are more familiar during basketball season, like a Villanova or Rhode Island, Delaware. But Richmond's 6-0. And they've got a very nice unit. Delaware is Delaware, Rhode Island, Stony Brook, and Villanova are all 5-1. But Stony Brook's on a 4-game winning streak. They got off to a rocky start at the beginning of the season. But they've kind of figured it out. They don't play a lot outside of their stuff. They don't play a lot. Yeah. They don't get a lot of invites like from the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC to, those games early in the season where they pay some school lots of money to come lose. They don't. They just play. So as I was running through the list of names, I'm like, oh, I recognize a lot of these from basketball. But they have football programs, and they have very good football programs. And this week we got their players of the week for the CAA. You want to? I can't. Get
you want me to go over the offense?
Yeah, you want to start with the offensive player of the week, and then I'll take defense.
Oh, sure. I will take the offensive player of the week because it's Matthew Downing. He is a senior quarterback from Alpharetta, Georgia, not too far from where I live. So yay. So he had a 300, he had a season high 315 yards and accounted for 5 touchdowns against Elon. In Elon's 40 to 36 win at William and Mary. He threw TD passes to 4 different receivers, so he spreads the ball out. That's a wonderful talent to have. And then he rallied the Phoenix from fourth quarter deficits. So he had a drive and threw a game-winning 15-yard touchdown strike to Onuma DK with 5 seconds left. That's exciting. That's the kind of thing that you like to see. Calm under pressure, spreading the ball, getting all of his receivers involved.
Yeah, that's spreading the ball around. I love his efficiency at the end of the games, but the fact that he's got 5 touchdowns with 4 different receivers is huge. We need more of that in the NFL. Quarterbacks tend to find their whoopee and stick with that one guy. Now, as a Jamar Chase fantasy football owner, I am not going to complain, but that's not winning the Bengals games, right? When you zero in on that guy, because he gives the defense one guy to watch out. When he goes out for the draft, that's going to be, Downing. When he goes out for the draft, that's going to be one of the big things that he and his agent are telling everybody is, look, I'm spreading the ball around. I will find the open man. I will shred the defense. The defensive player of the week is Matthew Traynor. He's a linebacker. He's a redshirt freshman at Richmond. He's from Marietta, Georgia. He recorded a career-high 12 tackles and two tackles for loss, and he intercepted a pass in their victory at Campbell of 27-24. The 12 tackles that he had were 5 more than his previous best game, and it is his first interception since the season opener. So the Spiders defense held Campbell University to 7 second-half points to get the comeback victory, and a lot of it was just he was a tackle machine this week.
Oh goodness. He's from actually one of the rival high schools in my area. And there's a couple other kids that my kids have gone to school with that have made it out, and doing very well. So I think I got to get a little bit more involved in my local stuff so I can really kind of follow these kids and cheer them on. So that's good. So that's always fun to watch. And then special teams players of the week. Shall we get into that?
Sure. You want me to do special teams and then you can do the rookie of the week? You do special teams, I'll do rookie of the week.
All righty, and that's Mr. Mazzy. He is the place kicker, and we love our kickers. We love to show love to all the little itty bitty, insignificant but yet very significant people on the team. We love those guys. So anyways, Nick Mazzy, he's a junior from New Hampshire. He's a junior, plays at New Hampshire from Massachusetts. And he accounted for 15 points in University of New Hampshire's 33-20 triumph over Monmouth. And he was 4 for 4 on field goals, connecting kicks 42. 55 or 35, 35, and 31 yards. So, not the big boomers of the 55 yards, but still 4 for 4. That's money. You can't, you can't discount that. 4 for 4. Let's go. And he made all of his extra point tries, and he leads the CAA with 14 made field goals, including 6 over 40 yards. So while he did not have those boomers this week, he's got the boomer in him. So I love that. Yes, kicker love is very important. Thank you, Christy.
He got the boomer in him. What? I can't. And the Coastal Athletic Association football rookie of the week, Randall King, freshman, wide receiver, plays at Campbell out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Not Rocky Top.
All right.
Rocky Mount. Randall King contributed 147 all-purpose yards and a touchdown in their 27-24 loss against Richmond. But as a freshman, he gave the Camels a 14-7 second quarter lead because he returned a kickoff 90 yards for a touchdown. This is the first time anyone at Campbell has returned a kickoff for a touchdown since 2018. And because he's versatile, they also used him. He catches a lot out of the slot. So he had 4 catches for 53 yards. And he's had 300 receiving yards in the last few games. So he's not just a kick returner, but he's getting some wide receiver time as a freshman. So shout out to him.
Yeah, he's probably actually going to be in that wide receiver role real soon.
Yeah. Because a lot of them you start as kick returners, you start on special teams, and then you kind of work your way up to trying to get noticed. And just, I have hands. I can catch, I can run, I can evade, I can take a hit and keep ball security is huge. So there's a lot of guys that start their careers. Devin Hester made a very good living returning kicks. Got himself into the Hall of Fame as a kick returner. So
about to say he got him a gold jacket doing just that. So good for him.
He did. Got some good matchups coming up inside the division this weekend. And you mentioned NCA&T. They do not have any wins yet, but they're playing Towson this weekend. Villanova's got Monmouth. Richmond has Hampton. Bryant has William and Mary. If you can find that anywhere, I'm having trouble on my TV. I don't know if it's because I'm in Ohio. Maybe if you're closer to the East Coast, you can find them. I'm going to see if I can find it. I want to get a look at William and Mary's offensive line and see if I can get some actual film with Charles Grant in it. So those are like their big games that they have coming up this weekend. So it's a fun little conference. I think where I live, it's easier to catch like MAC games or some of those. But if you live anywhere in that, it is right along the coast, Virginia on down. If you live anywhere in that area, or you come across any of those games on TV this weekend, give them a look. Some of those guys, there's a handful of guys playing in that division, that conference, that I think we'll be seeing at the Combine. I think we'll be talking about on draft day. For sure, we're going to see Charles Grant in the Senior Bowl, and he may bring some friends with them.
Exactly. So, so keep an eye on those guys. I mean, because these teams aren't built by all D1, SEC, ACC kind of players, right? So, very much so. I wonder if there's any famous players that have come from the CAA. I'm like 90% sure there are.
I can look that up.
Okay, see, this is what we need. A stat girl. We need a stat girl to look.
I think that's supposed to be my job. I looked it up for when we talked about the MAC and stuff, but I think I forgot to do it this week, and it's okay. Is there any questions in the chat?
Any questions in the chat?
Buffalo Bills. Oh, that's where they're expected to. There are some guys that are expected to get drafted. Christian Benford is a corner out of Villanova. And it's funny because when they're predicting the draft position for these guys, it's like 5th, 6th, 7th rounders. But Davis Cheek is the quarterback at Elon. Forrest Ryan is a linebacker out of Villanova. Andrew Traynor out of William and Mary and Charles Grant out of William and Mary are both, those guys, there's 5 of them that they think we should be keeping an eye on because they could very well end up in the NFL this year. As far as players that are currently on NFL rosters, the Dolphins rookie tight end, Julian Hill.
Okay.
Played at Campbell. I don't recognize any of these other people. Bilal Nichols from Delaware is with the Raiders. Luke Rhodes from William and Mary is with the Colts. Patrick Ricard from Maine is with the Ravens. These are all like linebackers, defensive tackles, defensive ends. Tyrone Wheatley Jr., offensive lineman for the Patriots, went to Stony Brook. So there's quite a few that are on rosters now.
See, they're there.
They're there. They're that depth that you need. They don't get a lot of credit up front, and a lot of times they go undrafted. But when we're talking about O-line or we're talking about any of that kind of stuff, all of us that have favorite NFL teams have dealt with injuries and lack of depth. And these are the kind of guys that show up. And if they get a chance, because they, if something happens, next man up, and they're the next man, they're playing well. They're
exactly.
They're getting paid. professionals.
They're getting paid, and they're getting well, and they're well coached. So there's always that. They got that great background.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yep. So the last thing I have for tonight is
yes.
Not this weekend, but 2 weekends ago, Indiana took on the Michigan State Spartans, beat them 47-10, which is not interesting. But what is interesting is when Indiana and Michigan State play, they have a trophy. It's called the Old Spittoon, and it is like this big, literally a spittoon. And it started because back in 1950, Michigan State had lost 3 in a row. And their class president, because back then class presidents at colleges were more involved in things and were a bigger deal. He went to an antique store trying to find something to use as a trophy because he thought maybe it'll motivate the team to finally beat Indiana if I get him something. And the guy at the antique store showed him a brass spittoon, was $25, and told him that it was used by settlers that were traveling between Indiana and Michigan. And so he bought it, and now it's a trophy. And they don't spit in it or anything gross. They just trade it back and forth. What I like about it is it's small and light, and the guy there, you'll usually see like a guy on his shoulders being carried around holding it. Some of them, like with the axes and the blades and the heaviness, Floyd the Pig is not getting carried around the stadium, but there's some guy was waving his spittoon in Indiana colors 2 weeks ago. So congrats to Indiana on winning the Old Spittoon, but it don't really.
Do they have scores on it from the years?
It looks like, I was looking at it. It doesn't say anything in any of the articles I read, but when I look at it, it looks like it's on engraving on it. It reminded me a little bit of like when I look at the Stanley Cup, how they put the name of the year. So I wonder if if it's up to whoever wins it has to go decide to do that. At some point, they'll run out of room. So I just thought it was funny that you got a bunch of college guys getting all excited about a spittoon. They probably had to have someone explain to them what it was.
What a spittoon is.
Chewing tobacco at most places isn't, they get them little pouches, and people aren't spitting into a community bucket at a bar. Like this is the wild, wild west.
They're spitting into styrofoam cups at the bar.
Something. But I don't know. All right. I think that's it for us tonight. Don't forget to send love out to all the offensive linemen out there.
Yes. Tell them you love them.
In the trenches doing the work. Good luck to the semifinalists for the Joe Moore Award. As soon as they make that determination and let us know, we will let you know. Good luck to these teams in the rankings. I said it before. I'll say it again. It'll all settle itself out. A lot of these teams play each other, which I love. I hate it when they don't play anybody, and then you got to get to the playoffs. A lot of these teams are going to play each other. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that Boise State gets itself up into the top 12. I think they will. Looking at the schedules coming up ahead and some of these 2-loss teams, I think some of them are going to lose a third and be just out of the running. So good games coming up this weekend. And then 2 weeks for the best game of the entire season. I've already rented a U-Haul. I've already rented a U-Haul.
For what?
Because if the Ohio State loses, I will drive it to Columbus and help Ryan Day pack his office. I'm sorry.
You know what?
He don't even have to get fired. He will just resign because you can't lose to Michigan 4 years in a row and keep your job.
You literally can't. And if you lose,
y'all let Lloyd Carr stay too long. Y'all let Lloyd Carr stay too long.
I'll agree. But if y'all lose to this Michigan team,
right?
Homie got to go. He got to go.
No offense. Your team is still trying to figure out what it's doing. It looks good, and then it looks awful. I'm sure we will get their A game. I can't have a loss this year. I've got a reservation on a U-Haul just in case. Taking it seriously. Anyway.
Understand. All right, you guys be safe. And we'll see you next week. Okay. Bye.
Bye.